Akash Network built a marketplace that takes the world's spare computing resources and puts them in the hands of any human or AI agent willing to use them. The system is fully automated and permissionless, which means that there's no central entity that decides who can host or who can deploy. When you're deploying, you simply describe the resources that you need, and providers will bid on your workload, and you get to pick the offer that fits your budget and needs the best. Pricing tends to run significantly lower than AWS, GCP, or Azure, and the providers aren't anonymous either. Many voluntarily share their data center details, they can sign legal contracts if SLAs are necessary, and they carry on chain reputations along with verified attributes that are audited. So, whether you're needing a certified data center or you're fine with a home lab, the choice is yours. My name is Kaylem, and I'm here to walk you through the entire console deployment process from start to finish. So here we're at Akash Console, and it gives you a graphical interface to manage your deployments. But there's always an option to use the command line interface if that applies to you. In order to get started, let's take a look at Akash Console here. Right off the bat, there are two ways to log in. One of the first ways is if you hold AKT tokens, you can connect your preferred Cosmo wallet and deploy permissionlessly, and that option's here to connect your wallet. I use Kepler myself, so I'm just going to go ahead and log in now via Kepler, and then that will bring you to a dashboard, which is your home page here. Now, if you are a non-crypto user or you're an enterprise user, Akash Console also supports credit card payments with an experience that feels closer to a traditional cloud platform, and you can access that here via this email sign up. So let me go ahead and disconnect my wallet, and over here you get to hit the sign in button, and then that will take you to a more traditional email login. So here I can use Google to be logged in, and here right off the bat you'll see that there is a free trial if you use your email to sign up instead of a typical Cosmos wallet. So currently that's $100 in credits that you can get from the free trial, which may change over time. You'll need to enter a valid credit card that I have already entered here in order to start the trial and get access to that. So the credits expire 30 days after you start the trial, and while your account is in trial mode, your deployments close every 24 hours, which is pretty much very restricting and restricting you to just testing things out. For any serious work, you're going to need to buy in to get started. A simple $20 deposit from your credit card will not only remove the trial restrictions on your account, but make any remaining trial credits permanent. So right now, in my opinion, this is the best deal because you'll be getting $120 in deployment credits for $20. So I'm going to go ahead and quickly sign into all this so that you don't have to watch me do that. All right, once you're in, you'll be able to see that I have $100 in free trial credits here, but I'm just gonna go straight to console so that we can go back to our original homepage dashboard here. So here's the homepage, shows a basic dashboard for your most often needed stats. And on the left here, we have our deployment area where we can manage any deployments that we may have. Let's click through that really quick. I don't have any active deployments at the moment. Right underneath that, you have the template section where you can find many templates that are already made to quick launch any apps, AI models, and more that the community has already submitted through our awesome Akash repository. Keep in mind that these templates are community grown, which means that you too can submit any application as a template. This also means that there could be newer versions of apps that are on here, but you have to keep that in mind. So you may want to grab the latest releases yourself and make your own SDLs to deploy them rather than using a template. And if you're interested in that, the next one down under templates is the SDL builder, and it basically allows you to do just that. Then the last parts on this list is going to be a providers list. If you want to check out where the providers are and what they offer to the network, it can be found here along with a lot of stats that are associated with each of the providers. And the last thing is going to be any alerts that a provider may have for you to let you know that maybe you are running low on funds, things like that. And on the top right here, you'll find your login options. So as I showed before, we can switch to wallet payments. We can keep it as credit card payments. And you will have your usual profile section over here where you can, let me get that. Okay, right here, where you can go to things such as your API keys for if you want to deploy via your console API keys, as well as any billing or usage that you need. If you need a receipt or anything like that, can be found here. And of course, for logging out and things like that. So the more seamless way to deploy right now is going to be through a credit card funded account, so through email login. So we're going to start with that. And we're going to go to the templates here, and we're going to choose our, I guess, random template. I'm going to just go ahead and go to the game section, and let's go ahead and put up a Tetris game. Always love that. And we're going to hit the one-click deployment. And here you can see the SDL, where you can check out how many units of CPUs, rather define how many units of CPU, define how many megabytes of RAM or storage that you need. Since this is a template already ready to go, I'm not going to go edit it too much. I'm just going to go ahead and click the deploy button and put a small deposit. And so at this point, our job is going to be broadcasted to the blockchain, and we're going to receive a bid from any provider that is capable of hosting our job. And since this is just a simple game, we should be getting a lot back. And so here we have the list that we can choose from. And with these providers, we can then check out the region that they're from. Some are from Australia, some are from Vietnam, some are from the US. And it just depends on where you would want your deployment to live. Since I'm in the US, I'll go ahead and choose the Texas one, but you can see everyone is competing on price. You also see the uptime here. So I'm just going to go ahead and choose this provider in Texas, and I'm going to accept the bid. And now we're going to see that we're going to deploy on it right away. Get these messages out. And so at this point, you're going to see that we are deploying live straight onto the provider. Okay, so now it is loading up. It should be pretty much done. And at this point, if I just click the leases here, and everything green. Let's go ahead, take a look, refresh, and here we are. We have a Tetris game, and we can play, basically. So, all right, so that's that. And then I'm gonna finish off this presentation by closing off the deployment so that you can see how that's done. You just simply go to deployments here, and go ahead and click this, and close, and then that's it. So as fast as I deployed, I can remove my deployment, and we'll just be done with that, right? So the deployment sequence for a crypto wallet is very similar, with just two main differences. First, if you don't have any ACT credits in your wallet, you'll need to decide how much ACT to convert from AKT, that is. And ACT works the same as the credits here. So here I have $194 in credits. Those you can just think of it as ACT. But if you're using a wallet, so I'm going to switch to wallet payments at this point. We're going to go with the Kepler. And so here under the wallets, I have 490 worth of AKT, but I don't have any ACT. So that means that as I am trying to create a deployment, so let's say I go ahead and make the same, I guess I did Tetris, but I'll just do Mario deployment this time around. And here I'll go through the same deployment features. We go through the same SDL here, and I'll deposit the same amount. It's asking for ACT at this moment. And so because I don't have any ACT, I might have to go to the burn mint page, which can be also found here if you go to mint ACT. And here I can decide how much I want to convert. Let's just do $25 worth. So I'm going to go ahead and reapprove that. Perfect. And so now I have minted ACT, $25 worth. It is still pending. Okay. So there's going to be a little bit of a wait time, and we're going to resume after this is done through the blockchain. Okay. And now that I have my ACT in my wallet, I'm going to go ahead and go through the same deployment procedure. We're going to go to templates. I'm going to get that Mario game, and then we're going to go ahead and deploy that. So keep in mind that sometimes it might take a few seconds for your ACT to hit your account. So I had to wait about under a minute for that to happen. And so here I'm going to submit my ACT instead to pay for the same. And as you can see, I'll have to approve a few more transactions because we're going with the wallet route. And that is the main difference between the two. But generally speaking, it's all going to be the same way. So we're going to go ahead, we're going to wait for bids. Then I'm going to go ahead and choose the same Texas provider. We're going to accept a bid. And again, I'm going to have to do some more approvals because we're using the crypto wallet. And we should see a launch relatively soon. All right, so now you'll see that our Super Mario game has been deployed. Once again, if I go to leases and I click this link here, I should get a Super Mario game. Here we are, it works, perfect. Love this game. So I'm gonna close that real quick. A couple things to note is that using AKT to buy ACT allows you to convert back to AKT. So that's one of the major differences. So if you have any unused credits in ACT, you can always convert that back into AKT. But credits that are purchased with a credit card stays tied to the associated email account. Then they can't be refunded, only used. So if you want to swap your AKT back to ACT on a wallet account, you can go back to Mint ACT here, and then you can go ahead and switch that. Let's see. Okay, so another difference between the two here is that under the wallet, you can add funds, and it'll ask you how much more ACT to add, whereas there's no auto top up here, as you can see. But if we were to go ahead and switch to a USD payment, or rather switch to an email login, and I go back to my deployments, and this is the Tetris game that I have, there's an option here to auto top up. So if you are connected via a credit card, you can continually buy ACT on the back end and pay for your deployment pretty much infinitely. But if you are on a wallet login, you will have to continually add ACT manually to your deployment. So, and just like how I showed you can close the Tetris here, I'm going to go back to the wallet payments, and I'm going to go ahead and close off the deployment for the Tetris game. You can once again click here, close here, and then you're just going to have to approve a transaction. Another thing you'll note here is that the wallet and the email login are two separate accounts that both belong to me, and you can't really edit them together. So I can't edit my accounts that are on an email login while log into a wallet, and vice versa. So another difference to note over there. All right, so now that I've walked you through how to start a deployment and how to close a deployment, the next thing to talk about really is about the templates. Now, what you want to deploy might not always be in this template section over here, and there's just so much that you can deploy with Akash, and from AI models to different things such as Ubuntu, SSH, and more. And so what you want might not always be here. So this is where you can make your own, and all you have to do is, if your application has a Docker image, you can then deploy it. If it doesn't have a Docker image, you will need to containerize it first. So in this presentation, we're not going to cover containerization, but there are definitely resources that you can use. And if you need to, these days, you can always ask your favorite AI chatbot on how to do it as well. So yeah. Now I'm going to go ahead and talk about once you have your deployment running, I want to go over a few things. So I'm going to switch back here to my Tetris account. So there's going to be, console is going to give you a couple of tabs that you can use to monitor and manage your deployment. So the first tab here is leases. This tab is going to show the active lease, including the provider and what it is that you are hosting, as well as the URL. Under the alerts tab, it's going to show any alerts that you want to set yourself on what would happen. So maybe you want to set it so that you get an alert over here if it falls under a certain amount of money, right? Because you might not want to have the chance of having your deployment go down. So you might want to set, if there's less than, let's say, $5 in the account, I'm going to get a alert over here. The next you have logs, which basically streams container logs from your running services. So you can see anything that is pertinent to your deployment. Then you have shell, which is going to provide a direct terminal access to your running container. And you can also execute commands as well inside a container, just as you would on a local Docker instance. Then you have the events tab, which displays a deployment events, such as the creation, the bid acceptance, the lease creation, and provider actions, the actual creation of the workload. And if there's anything that goes wrong, you can always find your error messages here and diagnostic information. And then the last thing here is the update tab, where you can make changes to your specific SDL file and have that updated if applicable. So the deployment process on the Akash's console comes down to a handful of steps. You sign in, pick a template or upload your own SDL file, you submit it to the network for bids, and then you accept a bid from a provider that fits your needs, and then your workload is live. And then you, of course, can close it whenever you're done with a single click. Between the template gallery, the reverse auction marketplace, and the dashboard that surfaces logs, events, and shell access to your deployment all in one place, Akash's console covers the entire lifecycle of your deployment from start to finish without requiring you to touch a single command line.